Now, after you have actually discussed here the various parts of the central nervous system like the spinal cord, we have given you some external features of the spinal cord. Actually, in my previous video that you have seen already, is the external features of the spinal cord, and later on we went on to another topic, that was the brain stem, the external features of the brain stem at the various places. And then we continued and proceeded on the internal features of the brain stem at the various levels, and in that region especially we discussed on three things: the central canals, that was at some places central canal, at some places it was ventricle, and at some places it was the duct. But in fact it was the modification of the ventricular system, you see that the different places. Then I told you that around them there will be the gray matter, and the gray matter is in fact composed of the cell body collections. These are called the nuclei, which will in fact will not be present in the gray matter as such, they will be scattered all around. And in that the posterior gray matter, previously here in case of brain stem we assumed that throughout the entire brain stem it is the lateral gray matter, because you see in spinal cord it was a posterior and the anterior horns, this is gray matter. But in case of brain stem, at some places it was posterior anterior region, posterior anterior areas, but we assumed that entire brain stem is considered like, for example, it is open from behind to form here a fourth ventricle, though it is not, but you can consider it like this. And in this sense you will see that the gray matter in fact will be divided here through the sulcus terminalis, I say through the sulcus limitans, into the two portions. Now both will be anterior. This time you will call them medial motor area and lateral sensory area, but we told you that how you will divide them into certain columns. In motor column, most medial will be the general somatic efferent column and the lateral will be the general visceral efferent, but in between both of them in fact more ventrally placed it was a special visceral efferent column. Various nuclei we traced, these are called the nuclei of the cranial nerves, and the lateral side we actually traced some nuclei. These are the nuclei of sensory nuclei of the cranial nerves, including general as well as special for the cochlear and vestibular and for the taste, and general for especially trigeminal, but some other nerves will use them also. And apart from them we discuss certain other nuclei also. Other nuclei means certain other nuclei other than this. Other than this means these are the nuclei of the brain stem, other nuclei of the brain stem, and at different levels we traced some 10 to 11 such important nuclei also. And apart from them there was another area, there was another collection of the cell bodies along with the fibers crossed and uncrossed. There was a body in the middle that was called reticular formation also. But reticular formation, though it has been actually discussed in just one page in our textbooks, but it will be very, very important as far as its tracks are concerned, especially the tracks which will ascend up here, they will go up here, will distribute their signals throughout entire cerebral cortex via thalamus, and they will put the signals down here in the descending tracks here in form of a reticulospinal tract. Whenever any tract will refuse to go from cerebrum, I say from hypothalamus directly to the spinal cord, it will in fact relay into the reticular formation, so that the reticular formation can carry the fibers down into the spinal cord, like your parasympathetic innervation, sympathetic innervation, because upper motor control of your sympathetic thoracolumbar and sacral outflow lies in the hypothalamus, because you have already seen from T1 to L2 it was thoracolumbar outflow. This was the preganglionic neurons of the thoracolumbar outflow, means the sympathetic, and S2, 3, 4 was the parasympathetic. But all of them they are under the control of hypothalamus, descending autonomic fibers you call them. So autonomic is not just preganglionic and postganglionic, but they are upper motor neurons also in case of involuntaries. But this time upper motor is not coming from cerebral cortex, but come from hypothalamus. These are called the descending autonomic fibers. And if they are actually controlling your Edinger-Westphal superior, inferior, salivatory and dorsal vagal, it will actually come from the hypothalamus directly into the tegmentum
and they can easily control your Edinger Westphal, superior salivatory, inferior salivatory and dorsal vagal. But if they want to go down here into the thoracolumbar and the sacral outflow, they can't go directly there. So they will put their relay into reticular formation, so that the reticular formation can actually take them down into the spinal cord. So this reticular formation is also very, very important. Not only this, but this reticular formation will be utilized by cerebellum also, vestigial reticular if you say. And not just this, but the cerebrum will also use reticular formation in order to connect bilaterally to the cerebellum also, cortico-reticular, reticulocerebellar. But reticular formation is very, very important, and so much important that some of your important nuclei, they are embedded within the reticular formation. It's a very important, probably if you will get enough time, we will discuss the reticular formation separately also. So these things are there, and at the same time, it's not just a central area, this is the central canal, not just the grey matter, but we discuss the white matter also. And white matter means it will be actually the tracts. And by now we have actually learnt a lot about what the tracts are, and many of the tracts we have already traced. But as far as our nuclei are concerned, motor and sensory nuclei, we have witnessed many of the sensory and motor nuclei and other nuclei also within the brain stem, but we have not witnessed yet them in the spinal cord. Because you know that from spinal cord, almost all of them, you see, all of them, they are general sensory tracts which actually start here from the trunk here, carrying three different types of sensory modalities, groups. Pain, temperature and crude touch, one category. Vibration, 2-point discrimination, and you have seen here pressure also, and all these things here, you say unconscious proprioception is going through another tract. And the third is the unconscious proprioception is going through other. So three are there, and out of these three groups, two will go to the cerebrum via thalamus obviously, and one will project to the cerebellum. These are general sensory tracts which are coming. But before that, you should actually have a good idea about how the spinal cord in fact will look like. If you see the spinal cord, if you cut the section in the spinal cord like this, see posterior median sulcus, anterior median fissure, you see the central canal, and these are the grey matter in form of horns. Already you know that because they project here, and if you see, this is the depression that represents sulcus limitans, and this is sulcus limitans, and we'll see the sulcus limitans here. So you can say sulcus limitans this, and now you can say this area is called the posterior horn and this area is called the anterior horn. So anterior and posterior horns are there. We have already seen these things in the brain stem also. Now as far as sensory horn is concerned, you will see that sensory horn, this is now sulcus limitans, and this is the motor and this is sensory horn. If you are actually looking at this sensory horn, this is composed of the nuclei, different nuclei. And in these different nuclei, we already have seen that we have actually divided them into the two portions here. You can say posterior 3/4. You can say posterior 3/4 are the 3/4 which are closer to the periphery. And such thing which is and closer to the periphery in case of posterior horn will be what? Closer to the periphery, it will be the posterior 3/4 also. When I am actually telling you in the anterior 3/4 closer to the periphery, so they will be anterior 3/4. Means 3/4 in the posterior horn, if they are closer to the periphery, they must be posterior 3/4. And if I am telling you here 3/4 of the anterior horn, they must be anterior 3/4. They are mirror image, you can say. If I am actually telling you here that this is now my anterior 1/4 of your posterior horn, that must be present closer to the sulcus limitans, because this is the last 1/4. And similar thing I will explain as far as my motor area is concerned. How will I narrate this? I will tell you this is my posterior 1/4 of the anterior horn. So this will be closer to the sulcus limitans. Why don't you say the both of these areas in fact will be on either side of the sulcus limitans, and if they are actually having something say a good amount of, or a good number of the neurons, it will in fact be a little bit bulged from side here. Not just one, both of them will bulge to form here a new horn actually. that is called sometimes as the lateral horn. So lateral horn is not just your motor part of your one quarter, but the sensory part also contributes. That's why when you are actually saying that your sympathetic nervous system has got the cell bodies present in lateral horn of the gray matter of spinal cord, this is true. But the lateral horn is not composed of just these neurons, but this is composed of sensory neurons also. So lateral horn is composed of both of them. Will this be present throughout? No, this is not present throughout. This is present from T1 to L2, and after that L3, L4, L5 they are not present. Even S1 is not present. Then S2, 3 and 4 it is again present. What is present? Parasympathetic. But what is present? Which horn? Lateral horn. Lateral horn is not present. Why? Because physically is not present. The reason is that because at that area the number of neurons of the parasympathetic is not that enough, so that it should actually form the horn as such. Physically horn is not there, but correspondingly similar type of neurons are there, but they are not in form of horns. Why they are not in form of horns? Because the number of neurons are not too many. Why they will form the horn? They will not form the horn. So you will not say this is present in the lateral horn, and sometimes this is called the intermediate lateral horn also, because it is intermediate. It forming here a bulge, but basically horns are two, sensory and motor. And in this area especially you are actually getting this sensory and motor zone. Now you are actually watching in this. So that means in your sensory area, these three quarters which you are actually seeing, which is closer to the periphery, this is actually the area composed of the neurons which in fact will be getting these signals from the surface, somatic. So you call them somatic, and you call them efferents. And because they are actually taking the sensation, that is the general senses here obviously, because the spinal cord never takes any special sense, because no spinal nerve is actually connected here to any special sense, because spinal nerves are related here up to the beginning of the neck, or you can say back of the head or up to the vertex, that's all. And in that region incidentally there is no special organ, special sensory organ. So spinal nerve can never carry special senses, so they will always carry general sense. So we call the general somatic efferent area. And surely this next one, which will be the anterior one quarter closer to the sulcus limitus, will be visceral. We call them general visceral efferent here. So we have got two areas now here, but we have already told you that the general somatic efferent area is in fact gathering a sensory modality, which is three types of the sensory modalities are there. You will not divide them in the sensory modalities separately, three categories now you can say. In that category, the number one, it is pain, temperature and crude touch, you can say. Crude touch. I will tell you what the crude touch is when you are actually be telling here what the fine touch is. Then number two category is, this time it is a fine touch, a very important vibration. 2-point discrimination is the other name of the fine touch. Means you can discriminate whether you are being touched at some place at the 2 points of the 3 or 1. This is what we call here the fine touch. This is a 2-point discrimination. Then is the vibration, then you can say pressure, and is conscious proprioception. This is second category, and the third category already you know that is called the unconscious proprioception. Unconscious proprioception. There are three categories of the general somatic efferents or general somatic sensory modalities, which will in fact be generating from the surface, and they will now be transmitting through the fibers or the neurites of the neurons. Which neurons? General somatic efferent neurons, which are forming the nerves, and they will be finally handed over to the spinal cord. At which segments of spinal cord depends from where and which dermatome they are actually being generated. This depends. And how this will be actually transmitted, we will have to see this when we will be tracing the tract here. When you see, this is three different types of sensory modalities they are present here. And with these three different types of sensory modalities, when they will enter now inside here, which area is waiting for them? General somatic area is waiting for them. But because they are the three different types and they are being transmitted here and projected via three different types of the tracts, so this must be understood here. If the three different types of tracts are there, three different types of the nuclei will be present there. Because from the one nucleus, three tracts can't emerge. When the tract is separate, must be the nucleus is separate. So, if for example you have seen the nuclei are separate, so we must in fact localize here three nuclei in the general somatic efferent column. And in that general somatic efferent column, in that general somatic efferent part of this is the 3/4 closer to the periphery, you can say posterior 3/4 of the posterior horn of the gray matter of the spinal cord, there are three nuclei located. And if the three nuclei are located, upon each nucleus, under the banner of each nucleus, you have to ask the questions here. 6 or 7 which I have told you, the name of the nucleus, category of the nucleus, category already we have mentioned here, location of the nucleus, exactly what location, you say it is present in the posterior 3/4 here, but where exactly, this is the location. Then is the extent of the nucleus, means we have 31 segments in the spinal cord. For how long in fact this will be present, whether it is present in all 31 segments or it is present in certain segments. And this will be positively, you see that you will be confirmed, or you will in fact be known or will be informed about that when you are actually having a transverse section here. You start at the C1, it is not present, you say that it is not present here. C2, C3, C4, again it appears, you say from here it starts. And again you see it down, it again disappears. So you say after L2, after L3 up to here it is present, but below that is not present. Means it is present from, for example, C8 and finishes up to L3. Above that is not present, below that is not present. It is only possible when you are cutting the sections in a series, you see. So this is something that they are calling here. So for the pain and temperature and the crude touch means you are, if you are being touched somewhere, you say I am being touched, but it's a crude information. You see, it is a rough information you have. You doesn't have a kind of information that, for example, you don't have information like that you are being touched at what place. If you are being touched, whether this touch is through the sharp object or a blunt object, and you are being touched at 2 points or not, such details are not present, but at least you have an information that you are being touched. Means rough information is there, means a kind of a news is there, but half truth, you can say half cooked news you have, like a highlight, like you can say it is just headlines you have, you don't have the details, but the details is lying here in this details, you see that. So here is the detail, means if you are holding some object, an object is touching your hand at the multiple places, and from the touch of the multiple places here into your palm of the hand, all these are actually reaching the hand area of your cerebral cortex finally, and the cerebral cortex is computing them, and you are able to judge that what object actually you are holding, whether it's sharp or is wooden or is a metal or something. This is happening here, and this is possible through crude touch or through fine touch. Means if you want to actually judge or examine your this category of the neurons, this category of the sensory modality, you have to actually watch here just this. If you are judging your vibration, means you are actually testing your this tract, hitting the tuning fork here and putting them into the bony prominence. You are asking your patient what you are feeling. You see, you will not say I am being touched, you say there is some buzzing or some vibration is there. This is a vibration, and the vibration is a repeated touch, and this is a very important tract which is actually carrying them. It's not being carried here by the same tract which is actually carrying the pain and temperature. No, it is a vibration, it is separate. So this is something that is called, if pain, temperature and crude touch is being carried now. So we have already told you that when you are actually taking any tract, any sensory modality to be carried here, we have told you that you have to watch in any sense. It's not just general, but in the special senses also. You have actually 5 steps through which it starts and generated, and then it reaches to the final destination, that is your cerebral cortex. At least up to cerebral cortex you have to carry them. Though from cerebral cortex onward there are certain other stages also, but these stages are called the higher intellectual functions. Because when you are being touched with some object, you get known that which object is there, but this information is stored in your mind now forever. This is something that is called a memory. And that memory is some information which has been stored there, and that will actually be utilized in future also. And future, if your eyes are closed and similar object you are holding, You will be able to tell even without your eyes open and looking at this object, you will say that which thing is actually being held in my hand here. If I am changing the pen and I am putting this coin on your palm, and you are actually judging them and you are feeling the corners of the coin, and you say that which coin is in your hand. At least you will be able to say whether the coin is there or not, whether the wood is there or not, whether which object is there. And not only this, but we have got a lot of other things also, because the certain sensory modalities which will reach the cerebral cortex, the primary function has been accomplished. This is the final destination of your attack. But beyond that, you see that if your vision is there, if good things you will actually visualize, you see, you will become happy also. But happiness is something else. This is related to the emotional aspect of your say sensory modality. You are hearing some noises here, you become angry. Your mood become, you see that an unpleasant mood, because you don't like such noises here. All the time you see noises, they have got some psychological say impact on your mood also. So cerebral cortex, where the primary auditory signals are reaching, this will give you just what? Just will give you your hearing. This is a primary function of the primary sensory area. But the primary sensory area is actually handing over these to the secondary auditory area, and secondary auditory area is a part of the Wernicke's sensory speech area. So that means these words you are understanding also. You are not just hearing the voices only, but you are understanding them. Means the language area is there. This is something else. This is not a part of our tract as such, but we will reach the final destination. Its primary function has been accomplished, our tract finishes. But beyond that you should know also, because you know that there is a secondary area, there is Wernicke's, and then after the Wernicke's you see that it will be connected here to the Broca's also, and now you are repeating these words as well. You are not just repeating, you are understanding them. And not just repeating, you have got some changes in your mood and behavior also. This is related again to what? This is related again to the hearing. But your tract has finished up to the, usually we actually carry the tract from the surface, from the receptors, and we'll carry them up to the primary sensory areas. That's all. Our tract finishes there. But we know that the things are beyond that as well. Understanding also. Something written is there, vision, okay, our visual pathway finishes at the occipital, calcarine sulcus at the 17 area. But beyond that, you are understanding also. But the understanding is not the function of the area 17. This is the area 17 is not a function, but area will be, angular gyrus is there, then it will carry them, and angular will actually proceed it towards the Wernicke's, and then Wernicke's in fact will put them into the Broca's, and now you are repeating these words. Means to up to the visual area it doesn't, but our visual pathway finishes at the visual area. This is 17, but after that 18 and 19, and then you are actually projecting it to the angular gyrus also. So angular gyrus sometimes it is called the association visual area also, because the words which are written here, they cannot in fact be projected to the Wernicke's until they pass through the angular gyrus on the dominant hemisphere. But the words which have been spoken, they will not pass through the angular, they are going directly to the Wernicke's, because Wernicke's is the sensory speech area, but angular is the visual association area. So language should pass through them. Language should pass through them. Not all visual signals will pass through them. Only the language will pass through them. If the paper is there, you visualize the paper. Even if the angular gyrus is not there, you will say this is paper. But what is written on the paper, you can't actually judge it. Understand? So angular is for what? For language processing here, not just for vision processing. You can say it in the chair. But if something is written on the chair, it's written as a citizen, but you can't able to read citizen. This is something that is called the word blind. You are not blind, you are word blind. Understand? So when you are actually watching here, so if you are looking at this, so I told you that the tract, or say starting the tract means you are applying them, and I have already told you the first step is the application. Application is must. If you don't apply the stimulus, the sensory modality will actually be finishing here. This is the death of the sensory modality, it will not reach the end. If the stimulus is not there, if the petrol is not there, how the generator will start? So that means the first thing will be the application. Means you can say application of what? Of application. You can say application of stimulus. So first step is this. Okay, application of stimulus means this you are applying on what? On the sensory receptor. Sensory receptor, don't call them receptor. Sensory receptor. There is a difference between sensory receptor and the receptor. Receptors are those specialized bodies also, which in fact detect not detect as such, which you see, which will in fact identify the some chemical mediator or something like you say, like that, like a drug. If a drug is applied on the tissue must have the receptor for this drug. This is not as such sensory receptor, it will not actually sense anything, but this will actually start or ignite some physiological function. This is called the receptor. Chemoreceptor is a receptor, sensory receptor. Chemoreceptor is a sensory receptor. Like for example, drug receptors are there, like a beta receptor, cholinergic receptor. These are sensory receptors. If I am applying some acetylcholine on the tissue and the cholinergic receptors, then I will not feel anything, but some physiological function will be started that will inhibit the cell or it will excite the cell. This is something different. This is called the receptor, but this is called sensory receptor. So sensory receptor is the specialized organ which is there to apply them. And what is the function of the sensory receptor? To transduction. So second step will be transduction. And transduction means what? Transduction means we will changing the stimulus into an impulse. Just like the generator, you are putting the stimulus, that is the petrol, if for example that will convert this petrol into a current, into electric current. This is the transduction, and here it will be converted into a kind of a millivolts, it will convert it into kind of a potential here. That is called, no, this is called the generator potential. Never call them action potential. This is not action potential. This is receptor potential, or its name is the generator potential. That's why sometimes I am actually comparing the sensory receptor with the generator. This is kind of a generator, a similar type of function, but the current has been produced here. This is a graded potential. This is not the action potential. This depends upon how much is the intensity of the stimulus. If the stimulus is more, pain will be more. If the stimulus is less, the pain is less. In action potential, this is not there. In action potential, if it is present, either it is present full or it is not present. It's all or nothing law. It is not all or nothing law. This is according to, this is graded potential. This is called the generator potential, not the action potential. So this will be actually called the transduction. Okay, transduction, current has been produced by the generator, but the goal will not be accomplished until this current will reach the object. Transmission. For this purpose, you need what? Wire. And here, wire means neurite. Neurite means fiber of, of the processes of the neurons. And this neuron will be called as the first neuron. Means it will actually carry the impulse first. And such neurons who carry the impulses first, they are called the first order neurons. In sensory pathways, these are called first order neurons. First generation of neurons, first order neurons, or you can call them primary sensory neurons also. So this is a primary sensory neuron, means is a primary sensory neuron, and always think the primary sensory neurons have the cell body present always outside the central nervous system, except one place where they are present inside also. Where? Mesencephalic nucleus of trigeminal nerve, we have seen already. This is something which has been shifted from outside to in. Probably, I don't know exactly. Maybe it is a neural crest cell derivation which prefers to get itself impacted into the central nervous system and has gone into the mesencephalic area. You know that in the posterior horn of, not a horn as such, but the posterior sensory area of the entire length of the midbrain. This is something which you know that is called the first order neuron. Otherwise, all first order neurons, they are present outside central nervous system, and this outside central nervous system is present here in form of, you know that already, ganglion. This is called sensory root ganglion, or you call them is a dorsal root ganglion, or sensory root ganglion, or posterior root ganglion. And here these neurons, first order neurons, morphologically all such first order neurons, they are pseudo unipolar, not unipolar, pseudo unipolar. And they are pseudo unipolar because unipolar is like this, pseudo unipolar is like this and splitting into two. This is the difference between pseudo and true unipolars. So this is what we call here the pseudo unipolar. And the pseudo unipolar, now we have got the peripheral axon and a central axon. And this is the central axon. So through this peripheral axon, via this your ganglion coming through this, now this is called posterior horn of, this is called the posterior root of your spinal nerve. They are forming the spinal nerve, they are forming the ganglion, and they are forming the posterior roots, precisely rootlets, and they have entered into spinal cord. Which horn? Obviously posterior horn. And they are posterior horn, then in the posterior horn where they enter now, this is now your first order neuron. Morphologically which type? Morphologically pseudo-unipolar. Except the first order neurons can be bipolar only at the places where your special senses are there, but those special senses which have their specific nerves, all have their specific nerves except one. So test will have which type of neurons then? Will not have the bipolar neurons, so should have what? Again they will persist with the, or they will be satisfied with the pseudo-unipolar. This is one of the similarities of the general senses with the test. Their neurons, even before that there is another similarity also. Test doesn't have actually a specific organ. You say that a test has the tongue, everybody knows it. It has a specific organ. Is the tongue famous for a specific organ? What do you say? Is the tongue famous for test or the tongue famous for what you will prefer? If the tongue is famous for test or the tongue is famous for speech? So you say it is famous for speech. And for the test we have certain other things also. We have got palate, we have got tonsils, we have got epiglottis, we have got some other areas also. Though the tongue is famous obviously for the test as well. But the main function of the tongue probably, I believe that it is the speech, not the test. If you are being asked here, okay, the tongue will perform one of them, either test you prefer, either test or speech, I will prefer speech. Because the God also say that the best thing that I have bestowed, you say that I have blessed the human being with, it is the speech. And obviously it is the mostly more than 90% is the tongue, little bit with the lips also, a little bit with the jaw as well. If the jaw is not moving, you will not be able to in fact articulate certain even words also. So jaw, you see that your jaw is moving also. When you are uttering certain words, articulating, you see that you will feel your chin. Yes, it is moving also. But it's not a highly say specific work as such, but this is also supporting you. And lips also, 3 to 4 letters you see that just utter with the lips, even if the tongue is cut, you can say ba, pa or ma. These words you can utter also. You can articulate these 3 words, 3 letters, and joining them, repeated papa. You can use papa, you can actually do with the lips even if your tongue is not there. Now if for example you are watching in this, so third thing is what? Transduction. The third thing will be the transmission. So transmission through what? Through these nerves. So this is now third, this is called transmission. And after the transmission you will at least hand it over from the peripheral nervous system to the central. 3 things done, you have reached the central nervous system. Where exactly? Posterior horn of the gray matter of the spinal cord, because this is spinal nerve. Which segment depends on which dermatome you are actually carrying this. Okay, when you enter inside you will ask yourself now the question, because you know that when you enter inside you will ask yourself question whether it relay or not, because you know that you want to actually carry some tract now. So most of them, almost always except at certain places, this will have to relay, and relay means now you need a group of nuclei, a group of the cells which together will in fact will carry only them, will receive only them. A separate corner, a separate counter is there, and for this purpose not the entire 1/3 of, you say entire 3/4 of the posterior horn will be utilized, only one piece will be utilized, one small part will be utilized, and that one small part is lying here at this place, that is the apex of posterior horn of the gray matter of the spinal cord. Now it has been localized, and that apex is actually carrying this now. That means for this purpose it has been now handed over to that. For this purpose you are looking at the nucleus now. Means this first category of this pain and the temperature, everything, pain, temperature and crude touch has been received by the posterior horn of gray matter of the spinal cord in a specific group of the neurons, you call them the nucleus. Now nucleus means the 6 questions. Now this is your responsibility, you will be having this obligation to in fact to discuss these this nucleus under 6 headings. Name the nucleus. Substantia gelatinosa you call them. Gelatinous substance. Substantia means substance. Substantia nigra means the black substance. Here this is substantia because it is gelatinous. In a cut section it will look like a gelatinous. That's why we call them substantia gelatinosa. And this is the name is the substantia gelatinosa. So this is actually called this nucleus. This is called substantia gelatinosa. This is now number 1. Another will be category. Already you know that the 3/4 they belong to which category of the cells. So number 2 is the category, this general somatic afferent. Number 3 is location, at the apex of the posterior horn of the gray matter of the spinal cord. Number 4 is the extent, means if this is now a nucleus and now I am cutting this, it is from my cervical, first cervical segment up to my coccygeal segment. If I am cutting them throughout the entire length, in the all 31 segments this is present. Understand? So this is present throughout all 31 segments of the spinal cord, this is present. May say it is present throughout, means say the fourth will be extent, means what? It is present throughout, means from all 31 segments. Location, you see apex, name already, and category also. Then fifth will be the afferents, from where its information comes. Its information comes from where? Its information comes from the receptors through the spinal nerves, and it is scanning the pain and pain and the temperature and the crude touch sensory impulses, sensory modalities. But it is not just a sensation has been felt. You cannot say it is the carrying the pain, because it is reaching only the current. Pain will be decided when cerebral cortex or at least the thalamus will receive it. The word pain in fact will be labeled as pain when it reaches here. Here you say that is a sensory modalities which in future will be perceived as pain. It's like this, but here it is not a pain. Spinal cord will not have any perception capability. How much intensity is there, spinal cord will never give you a perceptive, I say perception facility or perception capacity is not actually lies here with the spinal cord. If you will actually cut the tracks here, no matter how strong the stimulus is actually going and is informing your spinal cord, you will not feel pain at all. And if this is here, you see that it's called the substantia gelatinosa, and then afferents here. So this is now called the afferents. So you have seen here the fifth thing is afferents, and afferents you know already coming from where? Sensory receptors via spinal nerves. Which sensory receptors? Usually pain related sensory receptors are called we call them FNEs, we call them free nerve endings. These are called the free nerve endings. So this is something which the physiology people will tell you more. This is called the free nerve endings, and then when you have handed over to the free nerve endings here, now next thing will be the efferents. Because until the efferents are created, you will not be able to perceive something, because the perception will be to when you reach to the higher areas. Now you can say the next thing will be here, the fifth thing will be the efferents. I say sixth thing will be efferents. And efferents means they will travel through the spinal cord, because they have to carry themselves at least up to the thalamus. It's not enough obviously, but at least up to the thalamus. So they will in fact be going through that. Means they will travel through the spinal cord. From which level? Depends from which level they have entered. For example, they have entered up to the L2, so from L2 onward. And if they are actually coming from your T9, so from T9 onward, they are actually going here. So just T9 onward from the T8 and here up to the C1, or they will go through medulla also? Surely, because thalamus will not actually be coming after spinal cord, will come after brainstem. So from medulla, and then from pons, and then from midbrain, and after the midbrain, obviously from midbrain onto what? Onto the thalamus. And surely when we reach the thalamus, you have to go through subthalamus first. If you are in the tegmentum of the brain stem's midbrain portion, you have to go through the thalamus, then you don't have to go through hypothalamus, but you have to go through subthalamus. You can pass through the hypothalamus and you can also reach the thalamus, but this time which nucleus you will approach? But your station is the dorsomedial, or your station is the lateral, and your station is more posterior, ventral, more posterior, down, posterior, inside, outside. That means you have to go outside, and outside where you pass through the subthalamus first. So that means all your tracks in fact pass through the subthalamus, and from subthalamus now they will be handed over to your thalamus, and your tract at least has finished. But that's not enough, we say that. Means this will be, but who will be carried through that? You see that who will in fact be forming the tract? Efferents of the substance gelatinosa cells. Cell body where? Substance gelatinosa. And axons are not traveling through, and this process is called a projection. Or is this called the projection? So this will be called as a projection, but projection will be the something that will be carried by the efferents. This is called the projection. This is my fourth process. After these three, this is the projection. Projection through different parts of your central nervous system. But after the projection, is our goal achieved or not yet? What will be the fifth and the last thing here? Perception. We should feel that also, in form of a pain, in form of a touch, crude touch, or in form of a warmth and a cold, is something we should feel. And this will be our last, I say, the final goal is this. But you see that just the thalamus means at least the projected up to what? Up to thalamus. And even the thalamus can give you the perception, and even the goal has been achieved. Means this fifth and last thing has been achieved here. But who have, you see, which neuron has in fact accomplished the last two steps here of the projection and perception? Second order neuron. And second order neuron is the cell body present where? Substantia gelatinous of spinal cord. Has finally ended where? So that's why the pathway that has been created here, and that has already gone here to the opposite side, that is called a spinothalamic pathway. And this spinothalamic pathway, which in fact has been generated like here, this is called spinothalamic tract, spinothalamic pathway. And now this is spinothalamic pathway, which you have actually seen look like, and watch it in the different places how it looks like and how this tract will be in fact projected. Now see, if it has gone through this, so which tract you are actually generating here? Spinothalamic tract, carrying which type of sensory modalities? Pain, temperature and crude touch. Means you are starting here from where? You are starting here from the periphery. You see the receptor, application, transduction, now transmission, cell body where? And I am actually making use of these three steps. Transduction, you see, application, transduction, I say, and then the transmission. But the transmission is being here. Application, this has been actually done by somebody from exterior. Transduction, this is the work of your sensory receptor. The first order neurons action will be transmission of this impulse here from periphery to the central nervous system. Means periphery to central nervous system, cell body already I have told you that, and now it is a root now. Has gone to the spinal cord. Ask yourself question, you see, will it relay or not? Yes, it will relay. If it relay, then you know that for relaying purpose you need the nucleus. 6 questions about the nucleus, we say substantia gelatinosa, already we have seen. And now they have relayed into them, means you have relayed. Now after relaying, projection is required. Efferents, you know that already. From where it is coming, efferents, they are the tracts now. And tracts is something which will project now. And when it will hand over something here to the thalamus, perception will be already been actually be given to you. But you see, this is what we call here the projection. Now the projection means you have seen 6 questions. Last was the efferent, and efferent will now project, means what it will form, a nerve or a tract. And when the word tract actually comes on your mouth, for example, a tract, you will see that a tract means on the tract you will have to put some questions also. When the word tract now comes on your tongue, now you see that you have to ask yourself questions on tract now. Number 1, if you are actually looking at the tract, ask yourself questions now. Number 1, order of neuron. Which order of neuron? If the tract starts from substantia gelatinosa, second order. Means you say order of neuron, answer is second order. Number 2, cross or not?
Yes.
Cross plus or not?
Yes.
Yes. If yes, then you say where? Because sometimes they will not cross also. That's why I am saying cross plus or cross minus. If it is a plus, so if it is a plus means where. If it is a where, then you say that parametric decussation. This is ascending tract, it is not descending. So you see that from here, if the fibers now, bundles are now arising. So these fiber bundles now, they will cross like this. Will you watch this? They cross the midline in such a way that the most posterior crossing fibers will actually be crossing in the anterior gray commissure, and some of the fibers in fact will be more anteriorly placed, they will be crossing in the anterior white commissure. You see that some of them, they are crossing in anterior gray and some are crossing in anterior white. So this is something that is called the crossing. Then you will ask yourself third question, ascend or not? Yes or no? Obviously yes. And if it's yes, then where? That means those fibers who have crossed here in the anterior gray commissure, in fact their further ascending will be here in the lateral white column of the opposite side of the spinal cord. But those who have actually crossed here in the anterior white matter, they will in fact be further ascending where? The further ascending here in the anterior white column of the opposite side of the spinal cord. So they in fact will be going like this. Understand? So they are in form of two bundles now. These bundles are a little bit away from each other in the beginning, but later on they will in fact run parallel. And in between them another bundle will in fact be intervening also, that is called the spinotectal tract. Even if the spinotectal were not present even, they will be running parallel like here, and such parallelism actually make them in form of a lemniscus, laminated, and such lamination you will see that later. But you see this is here is running now. If running now, that means here which picture here, which section of spinal cord. So if for example in which sections or in which segments it will ascend, you see it depends in which segment they have entered. But when they are entering here, you see if they are entering in the spinal cord, they run now and they will end up into in the substance gelatinosa, but their crossing usually is oblique like this. Means the tract in fact the spinal cord will be formed a few segments up there. If it is coming from here, it will be like this, obliquely going across. This is very important. Means if for example you are cutting from here at the area that is actually called, for example this starts from L1, but actually tract will be generated up to you can say T11 you can say. Means if your spinal cord is actually cut from here at the T11, that means you will actually be losing your pain and temperature of the opposite side some segments below. This is very important because this is not actually immediately the tract is formed, the tract will be formed little higher because the fibers are going oblique, and this will actually help you a lot in when you are actually be discussing this scenario. Understand? So this trick you should actually be knowing. If this is here, so this is ascending here, where ascending means those who are ascending here, you have already noticed anterior and lateral, and if they are lateral and anterior means they will be in fact present here in the medulla oblongata. Which section is this? Pyramidal decussation means they will be laterally, they are actually running now in this. After that where they are running? Same now, this is opposite side obviously. Which section? Middle. This is upper or middle? This is still a central canal, and now you are having the great sensory decussation, and now okay, sensory decussation. I will look at the sensory decussation, but I have nothing to do with that. I will continue myself actually, whether in the spinal cord a sensory decussation is taking place or not, I have nothing to do with that. I will actually continue because my role is not to actually teach this sensory decussation which way it should cross. This is not my business. I will carry on and will actually carry them like him. Okay. This is what? Spinothalamic tract. Why you say spinothalamic tract? Because we know that this will finally finish in the thalamus. Okay, this is now third. We have actually cut it here and we are bringing here. So this one in the fourth, and now this is here. This is which medulla? This is my fourth ventricle, upper medulla. How you say this is upper medulla? Because of this. Okay, this is going here. See this red color. Now I am coming more up here. You see that where? Lower pons. By that time, now you see this, your lateral and anterior are so close that this is the time now you can say in the lower pons here, especially you can say in the lower pons now at least you are comfortable that they are now qualified to be called as lemniscus because they are so close now, and intervening between there is spinotectal also. So this time you can call them what? Spinal lemniscus. Okay, and the spinal lemniscus is going here. Which section is this? 5? How do you say? Okay, now this time upper pons. How do you say this upper pons? Trigeminal. Okay, this is trigeminal, and now you are actually watching here. Bring up down now. Where you are? Is it lower midbrain? How do you say this is lower midbrain? Trochlear, because the trochlear is actually going this way. Okay, if this trochlear is going this way, we say this is now going. Now watch this this green color. When you are actually looking at this green color here in this especially, so you will see that this green color is a single, it is not a single track. Actually this green color has been a combination of the 4 tracks together. In book has been shown you together, but it's not a single, but it is actually like here. I can actually make it like this. In this, if you say this one, the most medial 1/4 is this green color. Next 1/4 is this. I am making it in red. The next 1/4 which I am actually making it is a blue, and the last 1/4 I am making it black. These are the 4 tracks, all 4 lemnisci. You get my point? Which one actually I am showing you here in this diagram? Red one. Which 1/4? Second 1/4. This will be running now here. You see here. Stop here or continue? Second 1/4. Which parts of the brain stem they are? Upper midbrain and lower midbrain. But which part of midbrain? Which division of midbrain? Midbrain has the crus cerebri, tegmentum, tectum. Crus cerebri is something that is called the basis peduncula, which you can feel with your hand easily. Only the descending tracks can actually occupy them. This is descending or ascending? You are climbing actually. You are climbing by the rope. This is actually something ascending. So this is actually going through that. Which portion? Cerebral peduncle of midbrain. This is true. But which is cerebral peduncle of midbrain? Which division? Behind these substantia nigra. This is the black color substance. This is behind. This is called the tegmentum. So this is running the tegmentum among the group of these lemnisci. But which group? Which group? Second 1/4. So you see this is here, and here same or not? Which 1/4? Second 1/4. Here they are not 4, they are 3. That's why we call them middle 1/3, not second 1/4. Why I am not calling it second 1/4 here? Because here this kidney like lemnisci group is not composed of 4. It is composed of 3. Where the 4th has gone? Why here 4? Why here 3? Because one lemniscus, that was the black color which I have shown you here in black. This black color lemniscus name is the lateral lemniscus. And the lateral lemniscus, you know that belongs to which sensory modality? Hearing. You know that this is in fact the axons bundle which has emerged from trapezoid body. So the black color is what? Lateral lemniscus. And lateral lemniscus will carry itself to the upper midbrain, or from the middle midbrain or the lower midbrain, it will now disappear by going through the brachium. Which brachium? Inferior brachium. From inferior brainstem, it will go to which brachium now? Inferior. So if it is actually disappeared from the brainstem via passing through the inferior brachium, will it be present in the superior midbrain? No. So if it is not present in the superior midbrain, so the superior midbrain, how many lemnisci will be present? 3. If the 3 are present, then this spinal lemniscus, this will be present in any 1/4 or only 1/3 now. Which 1/3? Middle 1/3, obviously. Second one means the middle. So it is present in the middle 1/3 now. That's why you explain that it is present in the middle 1/3 of And where anteriorly will be present what? Medial lemniscus, and the posteriorly will be present the trigeminal lemniscus. And this will be present here. And from here, this is going, but you continue with your spinothalamic, you continue with the spinal lemniscus. After that, it will going where? You know that already, that it will actually go through, through the cerebral peduncle, and through the cerebral peduncle tegmentum, and tegmentum pass through substantia, as I pass through subthalamus here. So this spinal lemniscus will pass through the, and after subthalamus, who will receive it? Thalamus. Which part of thalamus? Already you know that. Ventral portion. But which part of the ventral? Because this was like this here, most posterior part of the ventral posterior. But in ventral posterior there are two. Which one? Not inner but outer. You say ventral posterior lateral. So you call them ventral posterior lateral. So it will actually be received by ventral posterior lateral nucleus of the thalamus here. At least the perception will be, even the crude type of perception will be felt here, though the localization will not be there. So thalamus actually received there. At least this tract's final goal has been achieved. That's why the tract has ended here. If the tract has ended, so name the tract. Started from where? The long journey from spinal lemniscus. And this long journey from the spinal lemniscus, you can say long journey from spinal cord, and have ended here thalamus. So ended in the thalamus. That's why this tract will be named as, because partly it was anterior, partly it was lateral, so we call them anterior spinothalamic, lateral spinothalamic, but later on intervened here, we say cordoned by the spinotectal, so together you call them spinal lemniscus. So the various places the spinal lemniscus and all these things you will actually be judging here. So if this is something here, so after that where it will finally finish? In the thalamus, and you have seen that in the thalamus here. And from thalamus it will go what? Now another order of neuron will be there. Which fibers? Further projection, means projection fibers. And they will go outside here in internal capsule. Which part of internal capsule? Posterior limb of internal capsule. And the posterior limb of internal capsule, in the posterior limbs, in the posterior 1/3 of the posterior limb of internal capsule. Because the anterior 2/3 are almost motor. Which motor? The motor of, in the genu the motor was the corticonuclear, and then the motor was corticospinal for the upper limb, corticospinal for the trunk, corticospinal for the lower limb. And then the most posterior part, 1/3 of the posterior limb of internal capsule was present here. Why it was present in the posterior 1/3? Because our sensory area is lying in the parietal zone. So this will actually go into the parietal zone, and but it will go here or in form of radiation. Call them same order of neuron will be there. This is the same third order neuron, but its name will become now, according to the situation, according to the shape, its name will become corona radiata. So this name will become the corona radiata, and the corona radiata will finally reach where? So cerebral cortex, it will in form of radiation. And here which one is area is called 3, 1 and 2. This is called the primary somesthetic area. And this primary somesthetic area, where it will be relaying itself to give you the perception, depends from where it has started. So can go anywhere, or it will be now focusing on that area only, area related to the homunculus. If it is going here from your thumb region, it will go to the thumb area. And due to certain unknown reasons will be there. You don't have to go there, but you see that when it will be stimulated, you see miraculously you will feel the pain sensation there. You say, no, why I am just feeling the pain sensation there? If it is going through this, why not I am feeling actually the another sensory modality? It has gone there, okay, in my thumb area, okay, this is true. But if I am pain, this I am feeling, okay, what? A crude touch. Or I am feeling actually warmth or something. But from the same spot, if I am actually giving you a vibration, will it go to certain other homunculus area or the same thumb area? Same or not? If it is going to the same thumb area, why this time I am actually feeling a vibration, not as such pain? Why nerve is same? Okay, tract can be different, okay, but where it is stimulation in the sensory homunculus, in the same cortical area, 3, 1 and 2, why this time I am feeling another sensation? No matter how many, you say how different the receptor is there, but the current will be different or same? Current will be millivolts in the same or not? It's the same. Generator is giving you different current for different appliances, or current is same? Understand? So if the current is same and the stimulus is same, why you are feeling a different sense? Is there some other arrangement or some specific arrangement within the cerebral cortex itself or not? Cerebral cortex in every area has got different functional columns. These are called the vertical functional columns or functional vertical columns, you can say. How this is, if for example, if I am telling you here a cerebral cortex, this is thumb area, okay, 6 zones are there, okay. You are feeling pain is going here, vibration is coming here, touch is coming here, area is same. Why you are feeling different sense? Reason is because inside this there are certain columns which are connected like this. These are called functional vertical columns. Each of the vertical column group is containing as many as the 10,000 neurons network. And we have got not just this one, we have got multiple. If for example my signals are coming here into these areas which are specified for when they are stimulated, I feel pain, that indicates means so those things which have actually started from the free nerve endings will travel through substantia gelatinosa, travel through the spinal lemniscus, must relay here. Means already it is the software has been formed. But if the area of the 3, 1 and 2 homunculus is same, why I am feeling different sensations? The reason is these functional vertical columns. These functional vertical columns, if I am actually relying in them, my perception will be pain. If I am relying in them, is it? So that means my pain pathways will always find out this. If for example my touch pathway incidentally by mistake has gone into the pain functional cortical areas, this time I am touching but I am feeling pain. Because who finally makes you feel pain? Functional cortical areas of, in physiology there is a functional cortical areas in, you should go through this cerebral cortex functional cortical columns here. You watch them how they are actually formed here, and they are very important in the cortex here. It's not just postcentral gyrus you have actually handed over, but what is happening inside basically, it is the physiology, you should actually go through them. So that you can in fact judge this pathway. This is called the pathway related to pain, related to all these categories, and now you have actually gone through this. Now in this especially, when you are gone through this, now you can see the, okay, now look at this now. Where you have seen this, now see, this was our diagram. Which way? First order neuron, cell body here, going inside. Where? Substantia gelatinosa, and is crossing in such a way that you can see here, some of them, they will, okay, come from here also. They cross like this, some here and some here. Those which will cross in this area, you see, they run here, and those, and from here they are now ascending. Just this, there was this, how this has gone, you see that it has gone through this, going here into this unidentified nucleus, and then is going, crossing here to occupy this, running this also. So what will be this called? Spinal lemniscus, passing through the rest of your spinal cord, depends on which segment it is entered. Okay, after that where it should come? Medulla. Where you find it? Okay, laterally. This time laterally. Which way we are going? We have entered from here right side, so which way you are actually going? Left side. This is now left side here. See, this is here. What is this? Lateral spinal thing. Here lateral has been shown, okay, but this is just lateral, and this should be anterior and spinotectal also, but it has been shown here in this diagram. Okay, next, which picture is this? Okay, next will be sensory. This means a sensory decussation. Where it is there? The same. What will be this? Lateral spinothalamic. You see, lateral spinothalamic is there. Okay, continue. Which diagram next? Okay, this one. Which diagram? Okay, where we should find it? Same, location will be same. Can you see this? Lateral spinothalamic. Though it is not just lateral, it will be anterior as well as here. So, spinal lemniscus you can say, but the lemniscus word in fact will be adopting more when you are at a little higher level. Which diagram next? Okay. Here in this diagram, especially, it hasn't been shown you here, but you can make it here in this. You can make by yourself, draw it like here. Which one? Because in the next diagram it has been shown, but here in this diagram probably it has not been shown, so you can call it now spinal lemniscus. Okay, bring it next. No problem here. Why? Because it has been already given here. Spinal lemniscus. Okay, bring it more. Where? Lower midbrain. Where this lemniscus? Here are 4 lemnisci. Has been shown here 4 here. This one, this one, this one, and the last one. This one is what? Next one is what? This is now the thing which I am showing you. But the last one, you see the first one. So this is your lemniscus here. This time here 3. Lateral disappeared. Why? Because lateral is gone here from the midbrain middle area, gone here into what? Into the inferior brachium. So this one here, this is called. Understand? So this will be called as the lemniscus, and these are the tracks which you have actually seen here in this also. Understand? So this is called a spinothalamic tract. And the spinothalamic tract is a very important tract, and in your all sections you can see, and we have gone through the cerebrum, it will be visible there also in form of lemniscus, in form of the internal capsule. I have gone through coronary data, cerebral cortex, and these things you have already watched here in the different places here. This was an important tract that is called the anterolateral system also, this is called. In physiology it has been given more details what things in fact is having as a spinothalamic tract. It's called the 2 different pathways will be there, one related more to the reticular formation, another related more to the thalamus here. So this is 2 pathways. The anterolateral system has got 2 pathways in fact, something related to spinothalamic is called the paleo-spinothalamic, and another is called the neo-spinothalamic. Means something related means one tract which has got the more dominating effect on the reticular formation via that to the thalamus, and another will be from thalamus here to the cerebral cortex. So both have got the different physiologic functions also. So this is something that is called the anterolateral system. In tomorrow's class we will be discussing the dorsal column medial lemniscal system, and we will compare them how both of them they are different, and when it will be actually compared here, easily similar 2 types of tracts can be generated from the brainstem onward, because this is a pain temperature tract is coming from here. The similar pain temperature will be coming from your face also, but this time it will be carried by trigeminal nerve through certain different nuclei, through certain different tracts, and these tracts will also be visible in your brainstem, surely not in a spinal cord, and they will be actually going through the ventral posterior medial nucleus of your, this is called the VPM. This inshallah we will be discussing tomorrow.